Bonsoir, Porrick, and bonsoir, Robin, and bonsoir, l'Europe. Barbara Pravi has won C'est Vous qui décidez, and she is headed to the Eurovision Song Contest with what? With Voilà. Should we talk about it?
Let's
Let's
do
do
this.
Voilà, juste ici, moi mon rêve, mon envie, comme j'en crève, comme j'en ris, me voilà dans le bruit et dans le silence.
Oh my goodness, Felicitation, this is amazing. I am super excited for Barbara. I think the staging for this is absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna say this every day for like the next 3 or 4 months. It's a big song, and yet the staging is very intimate. And I think it's really hard to create that balance, something so big that feels so personal at the same time. Beautiful black and white monochrome, very French, but not cliche. This is not, some man with a chapeau. This is not redoing Patricia Cass from 2000, whatever, 2009. This is unique and modern. It feels like Melfest sleek, but with a French soul. It is quality and class is what I'm trying to say. And at this point, I would honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think this could contend. I'm not saying it's the winner, but it could contend depending what the other mix of songs is like in Rotterdam, Porrig.
This is how you elevate. That on the studio cut, it was nice, it was pleasant. It was probably my favorite, but it wasn't kind of a runaway smash that I was like, I love this song. But when she sang it live, I felt like I had goosebumps on my goosebumps. And she created such an atmosphere. And just the way that her team behind her, not only had they used the LED to its fullest potential, that she had all the shadows happening on the floor. They used the lighting perfectly. The camera shots were very tight, that they were coming into her face when it needed to. They were coming in from above when it needed to. It created such a moment. And I think it could be hugely advantageous to her in this COVID era, that if we don't get the normal Eurovision, which we most likely won't, that it's very suited to a studio. And I think it was most definitely, in my opinion, the only choice that France could have. And it's like you said, it has the modern flourishes to it, that I feel that it's a better than, say, Lisa Angel from 2015, and it's more accessible than Simone from Destination Eurovision in 2019. It has a more across the board appeal, and I think one thing that will really stand in its favor is that it won the jury vote and the televote, and that's a good sign always at Eurovision. And I've seen a good few people compare it to Salvador Sobral, that it has the potential to be a Salvador Sobral, in the sense that it could do very well, but then it could also risk being overlooked by the public if it doesn't capture the mood on the night. And I think a lot of it will depend on how Europe is feeling on the night of whatever day in May Eurovision is on this year. Kind of like Diodata when he won Sanremo, people didn't really get it. And then again, Eurovision Shine a Light came around, he was the one everyone was talking about. It's that kind of song that can capture a moment.
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings about it. I appreciate the craft behind it. It's a good song. She's a good singer, but I don't connect to it. Every time I've listened to it, I've just sort of been like, oh, that's nice, and it's sort of faded into the background, and I've just sort of started focusing on something else. It doesn't take me on the emotional journey that I think a lot of other listeners get when they listen to it. I sort of have this idea that a successful song has a sing-along quality to it. Like a lot of Eurovision, if not all Eurovision winners have had that. And with this one, you've kind of got that voila, 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 but it's a bit, I don't know. However, I did see in the VT before her performance, it was a clip of a version of that she was performing with an acoustic guitar, and I found it on YouTube, watched the whole thing. I think the tempo was a little bit faster, and that I was like, okay, I like this. but perhaps that makes it a bit more sort of jaunty and upbeat. Whereas I think what a lot of people find appealing is that slower emotional connection. So I guess I personally wouldn't vote for it, but I can see it being a good choice for France at Eurovision this year. And like Porrig was saying, it might be the sort of thing that ends up really resonating with viewers. It's hard to say what Europe will feel like watching at Eurovision this year. Will they want an uplifting song that makes them forget about their troubles, or will they want something that's a bit sort of sad that they can just wallow in misery for 3 minutes? Yeah, it's a good choice. It's hard to say how it will do at Eurovision.
So on this jury point, in recent years at Eurovision, we've not had consensus across televote and jury vote. It's just not happened. And I feel like a song like this straddles, what it needs to. You don't have to win either these days. You just have to do well in both. And looking at the jury, this got top marks from Amir, from Elodie Gossuin, from Augustin Galeana, from Natasha St. Pierre, from Andre Mnuchin, and from Shemin Servin Badi. So it, was cutting across music professionals, actors, personalities. I don't even want to talk about Marie Merriam, Eurovision winner, putting Pony X first. Girl, you cray. In any case, what was I going to say? I was going to say that this hits that sweet spot, and you would not be ashamed as a juror to put your name next to this. Like, in fact, if you were on the edge between something else, like all these dance songs, upbeat songs we're getting at Eurovision so far, what I'm trying to say is we're going to have a lot of dance songs, I think, because people want to be happy post-COVID. And I think that if you have to choose between something quirky and something like this, if you're a juror who's conservative, you're going to go for something like this. There's no shame associated with this. So I think it puts it in good stead. Any other thoughts on Barbara before we move on to the other acts? Porrig.
I think that Barbara is someone that can bring it to the Eurovision stage, and I don't think that she'll be hit by nerves because she's an accomplished performer. She's been at this for several years. She knows the Eurovision game. She's done 2 junior Eurovision songs, one of which won the whole competition. And she's also written a couple of songs that competed in Destination Eurovision back in the day. So she knows the game. She knows how it all works. And she was the act, I think that, one of the acts that had the most polished product, the most Eurovision ready package, because there was a lot of acts that needed to tighten a camera shot here or lose a dancer there. Whereas her package, you could just transplant it Melfest style to Eurovision and it would be perfectly acceptable. So I think she has that going for her. And I think it's a very French song and a very French sound, but I think it has more universal appeal than Angela's song from Albania, for example, that I think it will appeal more to juries, definitely juries in the West, that it might re-invoke memories of Patricia Cass or Edith Piaf. So in that sense, I think that she has it going for her, and she's a young, charismatic performer, which also helps.
Our girl looks like Zlata Ognovich. Our girl looks like Kalomira. She is serving beauty. Sorry, Robin, please.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I can see it being real jury bait, especially for the older, more conservative jury members, like someone who'll be like, oh, he's the conductor of the Macedonian orchestra. Someone like that will be like, this is a French song. It is very sort of, classical. And, but I could see maybe sort of someone watching at home with a Eurovision party sort of thing going on. It might not connect enough with them. There might be, if you're in the middle of a noisy party, you might not have that, be in the right kind of frame of mind. However, this year we might not see as many viewing parties. It might actually just be people in smaller viewing groups, so that could work to its advantage.
People at home, depressed, isolated, wanting to have a good old cry. Enter Barbara Pravi stage left. Now, someone mentioned dancers. Porrig, it was you. I think a lot of songs look like a hot mess. Too many people in the background. Andre Ahmad. All those people on stage. It's like they had just been to H&M, grabbed some clothes, and then went to the studio. It was a hot mess. But look, I digress. There were 5 acts that the public did not send through. LMK, Ali, Andre Ahmad, Philippine, and Terrence James. The jurors saved LMK. Who would each of you have saved?
I think I would have probably saved Terence James. The song was nice and it had the quirky nod to Anna Bergendahls kilted homoerotic dancers, and he even removed the shirts on a few of them. So purely for the camp value, and the song wasn't bad itself, I'd have put him through ahead of LMK.
I would save Ali. His song, it had been sort of on my radar, but I think the live performance really elevated it. Like, there were a lot of performances tonight that I thought seeing them live just added a lot more, regardless of what was going on with the staging. And that was one of them. I would have liked to have seen him at least have had the opportunity in the super final.
Look, the gays were out tonight. I would vote Terence James as well. I thought that performance was fire. Again, though, his backing dancers needed different clothes. It was just, I don't know, it just looked cheap in a show that looked very expensive. That was what was so confusing to me. So many things looked so right, so that when something looked bad, it really stood out. In any case, let's discuss the televote. Barbara won. Mr. Casanova was second with the people. A very handsome Corsican singer. You know, he talked a lot about wanting to serve traditional music, kind of culture. He told our Orani in France he wanted to represent culture. So at the beginning, he put up that note. It was almost like, I don't know, like a funeral call. It was I don't know, it was something very ancient. And then he just had a dance song. So I don't know where the culture went after that. But I enjoyed it. He's very charismatic. I don't necessarily think his vocals were on point at the end. Something was quite off at the end. But this was very likable, and I see why he did so well in the televote.
Yeah, it was a very catchy, memorable pop song. And when I was listening to the songs beforehand on Spotify, that was the one that stuck out for me along with Voilà. But live, he was losing his breath. There was a bit too much dancing for him. And then at the end, it was very like Manel Navarro back in Eurovision 2017, was it, when he had the end note just didn't work out for him at all. So I think that's what completely ruined his chances for the jury, because as a professional juror, it would probably not look great if Natasha St. Pierre or Amir were giving them their 12 points. They couldn't because he messed up. But I think the public overlooked that and saw that it was a catchy, fun pop song. And it's the kind of song that you could hear on the radio, and it was very much kind of the French pop sound that you'd hear other French singers like Kenji Girac. They sing similar kind of songs, so I can see why it did so well.
Yeah, I could absolutely see its appeal to the televote. It was just this kind of big, bold pop moment. Yeah, his vocals weren't perfect, but I sort of think that didn't ruin the performance. It wasn't quite as bad as Manel Navarro. Yeah, I guess I was a bit disappointed that it didn't do as well with the jury, because when you get a song that has that sort of lopsided vote, it does feel a little bit bittersweet. But yeah, maybe it would be good for him to come back in the future with another song. Keep trying.
Yes, please do, Casanova. Now, just to round out the televote, the rest of the placements were: third went to Amui, then Juliette Moran, then Pony X, Safaz, 21 Juin, Le Duo, and finally LMK. I've got to say, I don't want to say shocked, but surprised when the June 21st duo advanced based on the televote from the first round. June 21st is not a date I want to associate with music. I mean, granted, there's the Fête de la Musique. This was just, it looked a little cheap. They had a polystyrene palace. They just kind of spun around. The whole thing, it was very elementary school. I was really quite shocked that went through. And also, I felt bad that Safaz came third from last, or second from last. Yeah, just ahead of June 21st LMK. I really liked Safaz's performance. He had like a Hollywood sign, but it was Safaz. On a mange le soleil? Okay, let's go eat. Porrick, thoughts?
The thoughts, the rest of the acts, I wasn't particularly pushed about. I liked them, but there was none that I felt that I wanted to do better or that I felt should do worse. My main problem was that my heart was going very heavy when the juries first started voting, And I know Robin loves them, but Pony X were getting 12 points here and 10 points there, and Barbara was not. And I was getting very worried, and it was only towards the end of the jury vote. And I'm sorry to Pony X fans, but when Pony X they got one of the lower, they came lower down in the televote, and I was like, okay, hallelujah, I can like breathe safely. But Pony X, I can see maybe why music professionals liked it. It's very slick, it's very modern. But for me, it didn't have the same catchiness that other dance classics from Eurovision have. And I think maybe that's why the public didn't connect with it. And then maybe the very fact that one of the performers had a horse head, that sometimes novelty works. Maybe in this case, maybe it acted as a barrier to them connecting with the performer. But yeah, that was the one time, that was the main thing for me, that the jury voting, because at the start it was very up and down. And when Mary Miriam, I think she only gave maybe 2 points or something ridiculous to Barbara, I was kind of like, what's happening?
You know what? Because she was worried someone would take her legacy by winning the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah. So in the televote, I was really pleased with Amui's position. It's really good to see that French Polynesian realness being served. It's not something that people think much about. With my knowledge of Polynesian music, that is quite an authentic sound. The lyrics were pretty, it was just really, hey, everyone, let's have a good time, celebrate the beautiful island beaches and stuff like that. But they just did it. It was performed well. It had like good vibes, and I'm really glad that they connected with the French audience. I hope we get to see more representations of French areas from around the world, because there are all sorts of different little French presences in different places. It was certainly better than La Coco dance from Monaco. Like, what was that even about? I have to admit, I was a big fan of Pony X, Amour Fou. I can see, I think it was a really fun, upbeat song, really well executed. I can see why some of the juries liked it. I was surprised that it didn't also pick up with the televote, but that might have been, just the horse's head, and maybe people, if you have your other favourite, then that's who you vote for. You don't vote for two acts. So I think, the combined vote, the fact that Voilà won both the televote and the jury vote is a good sign. And, the whole national final sometimes felt quite chaotic, but I think in the end, the overall result was good.
And we should point out that Robin Gallagher is sort of an expert on the South Pacific. You are in New Zealand, and you've actually been to a lot of these places, unlike the rest of us who are just like, I once saw, Moana, or, I had a Tahitian treat. What's that? South Pacific. I watched South Pacific. In any case, Amui's floor, the circle, was beautiful. It was like they were being swallowed up by the ocean. The waves were coming in. I thought it was really classy, very classy. In fact, all of the acts I thought looked great on that circular LED floor. And the technology they deployed for Barbara Pravi gives me hope for the Eurovision stage in Rotterdam, because the delegations do know what technology will be available to them, and they can start working with it in the national selections. And so I think France is kind of testing what it can do in all circumstances. In any case, we move on to the jury vote. And just to recap, Barbara Pravi was first, Juliette Moran was second, Pony X was third, then LMK, Safaz, Casanova, June 21, and Amui. I don't think it's a surprise to any of us that Juliette did well with the jury. I mean, the jury's top two picks were Barbara Pravi, a chanson, and Juliette, musical theater, chanson-esque. Like, this was drama, her voice was on point, and I think if we were fluent in French, we would have been touched by the lyrics, and so that might explain why they did so well. But then to jump from those to Pony X, it's such a huge jump, and then to LMK. I love how Duncan Lawrence was like, we need an urban revolution at Eurovision, and LMK is the one to do it. Long story short, this is diversity at the top, and I am glad Barbara won Porrick.
And one thing I've just realised as we've been talking, since France started back with national finals in 2018, this is the first time that the jury and the public have agreed, because it was the public that sent Madame Monsieur, it was the public that sent Bilal Hassani. In each of the cases, the jury went for a different act. So I think it is significant that the public and the jury in France are on the same page for once.
Yeah, like I was saying before, like there was a bit of a difference with the jury vote and the televote, people having different favourites. But yeah, it is really reassuring that there is agreement on the overall winner. And I think what we've seen in the past is that tends to predict stronger results at Eurovision. I think if you look at Iceland, that's a classic example where they have their super final, and sort of if there's ever a switch, the artist that switches doesn't do well at Eurovision. There are weird things like that where if you give viewers a chance to change their mind and they do change their mind, that sounds like something's gone wrong with both the acts. So if there is just this consistent favourite, then that's a really good sign. So I think it means that Barbara will do well at Eurovision.
Now, I'm on the Wiwibloggs website, and the most voted comment on our results post reads as follows. It is from Kala. Kala says, Europe, we should have no live audiences, limited people in studios, and performers on the stage at once, no judging panels, social distance, everyone. France, let's have a 10-person judging panel, find the smallest plastic screens we can find to put between people, use the smallest studio, and cram a live audience inside it. Let's hug and dance around next to each other. And I'ma add, let's all go and congratulate Valentina for slaying Junior Eurovision when we should be keeping our distance to make this, not a super spreader event. In any case, what have you guys observed on social media or, just from your own viewing about, I guess, safety precautions?
I think most people, definitely in the English-speaking Twitter, because from Ireland, the UK, on all our TV shows, they're very strict that there's no audiences. Any shows, the judges are very far apart. And Strictly Come Dancing, they were like 2 meters in between each judge. On Drag Race, they have a big Perspex panel that goes up very high. Whereas the French judges had a panel like Amir's wasn't even going higher than his head. And then it could be seen that some of the time, at some points, the judges were kind of like going round to confer with each other, like around the Perspex. And then if there was a particularly good performance, all the judges stood up, and so they were side by side, and they were very close proximity. And then there was like, it was nearly just like, you wonder why they bothered with it at all. And then there was moments that they all went up on stage. They went up on stage first to all congratulate Valentina and do a little medley of Celine Dion, and then they went up a second time to congratulate Barbara. And then there was like little things like they were doing the fist pump instead of shaking hands, but like they were literally next to each other, and you're like, what's the point? And Miriam is hugging poor Valentina and kissing her on top of the head. And one thing that someone pointed out to me on Twitter, I didn't notice it myself, but that when everybody was up on stage, all hugs and everything, Duncan Lawrence, who is from the Netherlands, and they have very strict measures at the moment with their curfew, he was like trying to get away from all the hugging, whereas all the French seem to be over. You looking at it, if they didn't have the kind of just nearly optics was what was in place with the Perspex and stuff. If they didn't have that, you wouldn't realize there was a pandemic at all.
Yeah, I think they should be setting an example for viewers at home, because there will be people watching going, well, I'm not supposed to hug kiss my friend when I see him. Why are they doing this? And, I know that the French culture is very sort of huggy and kissy, and it might actually be quite difficult for them to sort of pull back from that. But this is the time to do it, set an example. I can imagine they had testing and masks and things like that, but all it takes is for one person to be in this environment with the virus to start spreading it. So yeah, I hope the French national final doesn't turn into a super spreader event. I wouldn't want Barbara to be coming down with the COVID.
Voila. Voila. I should point out, Diego, a Colombian Wiwiblogger, is in the press room, but there are only like 9 people, he said. It's very, very small, and they are socially distanced. We haven't had a chance to talk because I think he's interviewing Barbara Pravi right now, but there are lots of strict measures in place, which is why it's weird that in the broadcast itself, it looked as if there weren't. Maybe there are tests going on. We should probably clarify to check. But yeah, because there are definitely strict protocols behind the scenes for the press. We can definitely say that.
One thing that was strange as well is that on the few British shows that I've seen, like Strictly Come Dancing, they always say, go visit our website so you can see the measures we're putting in place to make the show safe. And at no point did they say something like that on the French show to reassure viewers that, oh, we're doing this, this, and this to make sure that everyone is complying with the rules and that everyone is safe.
One thing I'm also interested in is, like, during interviews, interviewers should definitely wear masks 100%. But what about the singer? Shouldn't they as well? Because even if they're being interviewed, they're still speaking among other people, presumably a cameraman, an interview. It goes both directions. It's not just one way. And I don't know how they'll deal with that at future events. Presumably, if there is a press center in Rotterdam, which, maybe that won't even happen, there would be like barriers. You must stay 6 feet away and have your mic, on a stick, which is great. In any case, but taking it away from the pandemic, final thoughts on the French Eurovision selection. For me, I'll just say this was a great show, well produced, put together during a pandemic. I thought the staging was fantastic. It's made me much more excited about Eurovision 2021 because I think other countries will deploy similar technology. Great winner. This is so good. This is quality. Even if you don't like this song, I think you can respect it's a quality song. There were a few options here that I think would have been good for Eurovision, but the best song won. Florig.
I think after last year's blip, France is back on track. It's gone back to the progress that it made with Destination Eurovision, and it's back to the national final, well-produced, slick, high-quality song. They've gone away from last year. They kind of veered into a song for Eurovision, created for Eurovision, Eurovision by numbers. They've realized that didn't work, and they've gone back and given us something authentic. And I think people are much happier for that. Whether or not they like Voilà, I think people can appreciate that it's a quality song, and it's a song that could exist outside of Eurovision, in France at least.
When it was announced that they were bringing back the national final, it was a little bit like, oh, is it going to be the same? Got different people behind it, a different concept. But yeah, this has worked out really well. And I think in many respects, it's actually a lot stronger than the old Destination Eurovision. Like, you don't have the acts performing cover versions, which I think was a big weakness. This one, they've just got straight to the point. They're focusing on the Eurovision entry on its own. It didn't really feel like there was much padding going on, maybe that second round of voting. But yeah, the whole thing I think is really successful. And it, I think, has been good to get into. It feels like a real good, tense voting round. I've really missed that. So that's good to have that back. So yeah, welcome back.
For some reason, I felt it stung more than at Melody Festival in that first round cut. I don't know why. This just, maybe because it's been so long, I was just like, oh, I feel for the 5 of you. Like, you must feel awful, but you shouldn't because you are a winner, honey. You made it here. But yeah, maybe that's just me. In any case, that's what we think. What do you think? Are you happy with France's show? Are you pleased with the winner? Do you think France could win Eurovision 2021? Let us know here on Wiwibloggs.
Make sure to like and subscribe Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And tell us what you think. Leave a comment below, s'il vous plaît.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.